Good morning. 10 degrees outside. Makes the fire even a little more. You said it was like Sensei said it was like a Norman Rockwell Zen painting in there. You look online. So, wonderful practicing with you, wonderful service this morning. I was reflecting during the week about a few things. But one of the ones I found especially it's something we need a constant reminder of. We often feel hurt, genuinely hurt, when even the smallest scratch is made in the veneer of who we think we are. Someone interrupts us or misunderstands us or even questions us a touch, just a little, if they hit the right subject. Yeah? And suddenly, we feel full-on threatened. I mean, it's an existential threat. We actually go into fight or flight mode. Yeah? We tighten, we defend, and we build walls around a story that was never solid in the first place. And yet we curate it like it is. We do our best to keep it going and keep it intact. We tend to cling to our roles, our titles, our identities, as if they were our very heartbeat. But the more seriously we take ourselves, the more easily we break. What if, just for a moment, we were able to step off the stage? What if we notice the absurdity of the performance? Would we have a good laugh at it? Yeah? What if we loosened our grip just long enough to laugh? Not a laugh that somehow looks down on the quality of this life. It's a laugh that liberates. There's a koan in the Shōyōroku. It's the 97th case, and it lands right here on this point. It's a story where the entire architecture of power and spiritual pride dissolves. It dissolves in a beautifully human gesture, and it's called Emperor Doko's cap. And it begins, "Attention! Emperor Doku said to Master Koke, this humble person has obtained the capital's sole treasure. It's just that no one prizes it." Koke said, "Lend me your majesty's treasure and I'll see." The emperor pulled down on his hat strings with both hands. Koke responded, "Who could ever put a price on your majesty's treasure?" There's a meeting here between two forms of kind of life and death authority, right? The emperor controls physical destiny with a word. He could have anyone executed on the spot at this point in Japanese history, or Chinese history. And Koke controls spiritual destiny with a phrase. It's the power to give life and to kill, to transmit and to hold back. One who rules the empire is talking to somebody who is a master of the Dharma. And what we think is a true test here, both of them clashing swords. Yeah, that's not how it actually goes, does it? The emperor declares he's penetrated the great matter rather. He's seen through to it. He possesses the sole treasure. Now, he's the emperor saying it, so somebody could easily misconstrue. But of course, he's talking in the context of a Zen master. He's saying, I've seen it, I have it, I recognize it as mine, I see my face there. Yeah? There's not insecurity in this, there's a certain sort of confidence in it. He imagines himself standing where, frankly, an ordinary person can't tread. And Koke doesn't argue the point. Like any good master, he just looks at him and says, "Oh, you have it? Show me. Lend me your treasure so I can judge for myself." And so the emperor, with complete confidence, even some feigned dignity, reaches up and pulls down on his hat strings. Picture that moment, okay? This is the emperor of the realm. He's going to demonstrate the great matter, this great jewel that's beyond any price. And he reaches up and does something positively absurd. Yeah? Most powerful figure in the land suddenly look like somebody who's adjusting their winter hat before heading outside. There are no robes, no throne, no performance, no grand edict. Yeah. And for a moment, he forgets to be the emperor. And he shows himself as who he truly is. A human being, yeah? Spontaneous, somewhat absurd, but in this case, totally free. He didn't summon thunder in a traditional sense, but yet lightning did strike out of a clear blue sky. In that unguarded moment, he lets go. All the stories, the treasure shines through. And Koke sees it immediately. I can't quite muster what tone it was, if he did it in a deadpan way or a very effusive way. But he shows that they're both looking at the same thing. Who could ever put a price on your Majesty's treasure? Standing there like a goof with his hat strings pulled by. This isn't, praise for the sake of praise. It's a precise affirmation. Because the treasure is not the emperor's claim of realization. It's the emperor before all claims are made. It's beyond the one tugging the strings. Reminds me of a parable in the Lotus Sutra. There's a poor man. He reunites with an old friend. A friend who's become wealthy since they parted ways last. And they drink and they laugh long into the night. Sounds like a good time, yeah? For one moment, the poor man feels safe and warm and filled and unburdened. And so he does what any poor man would do in that thing with a full belly and a couple skinfuls in him, right? He falls asleep with a very quiet mind. And so seeing his hardship, the wealthy friend wants to change his life forever. But he knows that he couldn't. He couldn't have done this. While the man was awake, he was too proud. So while he's asleep, he deftly sews a priceless jewel, enough to free his friend from want for the rest of his life. He sews it into the hem of his garment, right next to his heart. And when the next morning comes, the poor man wakes early, remembering only that he's poor. He doesn't believe he belongs in a place like this, and so he slips quietly away, still convinced of his own unworthiness. And he wanders for years in that state of scarcity and want and poverty, sadness, believing the story, struggling, even starving from time to time. Every day he's carrying that jewel with him, everywhere he goes. And yet, he forgets his own worth. And years later, by pure chance, the wealthy friend sees him. And he's horrified by the state that he's come into. He gave him enough that he couldn't spend it in several lifetimes, let alone one. His friend said, "Why are you living like this? Why didn't you just use the jewel that I gave you?" And the poor man insists he had nothing. He insists that his life's been hard. And things are scarce. So his friend touches the inside of the robe and says, "You've always carried this treasure with you everywhere you went. And you didn't know. Or worse not yet, you didn't use it." And in that movement, that simple recognition, everything collapses. His narrative of insufficiency, his belief in inadequacy, his fear of failure, gone. Here's the real teaching behind this. Nothing actually changed, except the story. Except his orientation around what was real. He'd been rich the whole time. This is our life. Often we walk around convinced of lack. Not good enough, not spiritual enough, not calm enough. Well, that jewel shines quietly beneath every breath. When the emperor forgets his crown, her perceived riches, and tugs those two strings looking absurd, for a heartbeat he remembers. And this koan invites us to see how ridiculous our self-seriousness is, how exhausting that self-protection is, how much joy we sacrifice to appear worthy we're already inherently worthy in the first place. And with this, the teaching, it's interesting. Buddha nature doesn't present itself by declaring some solemn rite, some precise choreography like we saw this morning in service. Buddha nature manifests itself in play, in spontaneity. Yeah. This awakening isn't a stiff thing. It's not a rigid robe that's starched. It wiggles, it laughs, it cries, it keeps going. So in most mondos, dialogues between a master and a student or master and disciple, there's a winner, right? There's someone who either proves their mettle or gets sent back down to the ranks to try one more time. Bell rings, get out. Yeah. But in this case, Koke didn't cut through Koke wasn't there to be some victor cutting through some delusion. And the emperor didn't vanquish the master. Yeah. They two together both celebrated this way that's always unfolding right before our eyes. So the question is, can you reveal this Buddha nature without your veneer of competence, without performative Zen, without making sure that it fits the image of who you think you are? I invite all of you this week to lend me your treasure. I'll see. But even better yet, do it with everyone and everything you encounter. Have a little fun with this practice. I was talking to Mujin, Bob Carlson. He's not on this morning. He often is. We were in Doksan, and I'm not supposed to disclose what happens, but I'll disclose this. He'll be okay. He looked at me and said, sometimes when we do check-ins, the world looks awfully awful for a lot of these folks. Why is there not more happiness involved? I said, that's a wonderful question. Why don't you bring that up? Why don't you contribute that very thing? It's good to notice what's missing, but it's even more compelling when we're able to be in that given situation. So, Mujin always is. Solid encouragement, through tough times. I'd encourage you this week, tug on those hat strings. Do a little dance and play the fool. Bring a smile to people's faces. This practice has so much to offer. And each of you has that jewel that contains the whole universe. You just have to get over yourself to let it shine.